What's up, Prodcasters? Welcome back to another exciting episode of Branding Banter, where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. And we've got some nerdy news for you today, that's for sure. My name is Jeff Franklin, National Accounts Manager with Headwear USA.
And I'm Meg Erber, Director of Sales for Performa.
And I'm Sarah Goshgarian Unruh, Director of Sales at Stalls.
Awesome. Well, look, before we get into it, since we're going to be talking about them pretty much this whole episode, we might as well tell you that today's sponsor is Alpha Broder. Alpha Broder is America's leading supplier of wholesale apparel, promotional products, and imprintable goods. Alpha Broder's products build brands, champion causes, acknowledge achievements, and offer limitless solutions. And they carry more than 6,500 styles from over 60 brands of classic and trending products like wholesale t-shirts, fleece, drinkware, bags, journals, and more. Alpha Broder is empowering their customers to brand the world through market-leading service, products, and solutions. So be sure to check them out at alphabroder.com. I'm assuming that all of that is going to change in the very near future. If you're not aware, what we're going to be talking about today is the huge acquisition, the largest acquisition that our industry has seen to date. So S&S Activewear, Meg's favorite supplier in the industry, has purchased has acquired, I should say, Alpha Broder, which is insane.
I remember I texted you guys. I was like, "Oh my god!" And then you. Well, first off, let's rewind for 1 second. Where in the world is Sarah Unruh today? Where is she?
She's in a hotel.
I'm in a hotel. I'm in Vegas. So I was out here for Something Inc.'s show.
Okay.
And then my husband flew in last night, and we went to go see Dead and Company in the Sphere.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was so cool. I just have to say, I have to recommend, regardless of whatever show. I know the Eagles are coming up and they're going to be in the Sphere. There's going to be an EDM concert there.
Oh.
Whatever your vibe is, just the Sphere alone, it's just an experience. But I will say you need to dress as if it's 50 degrees outside, because it's like an ice cube.
Really?
Yeah. I was freezing.
That's wonderful.
But
that's
it was
good.
I'm looking up who's playing when we're there.
Oh wait, Sarah.
Yeah.
There you go. We'll do a little inside joke here.
A little inside joke.
Right? Why don't you play that violin for me?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so we had fun. We had a good night last night. It was a good time. So we really have late nights, and so
I still have only seen videos of the Sphere. I can't wait to experience it at some point. It sounds like an absolute mind-blowing experience. So that's cool. I'm glad you got to experience that.
Yeah. I will say, if you have any visual impairments, or you get vertigo or anything, totally will mess you up.
Oh yeah, I probably won't go then. Because I can't even ride in a passenger seat of a car without wanting to throw up. But I did.
So I feel like we just dropped a nuke on the audience and then kind of completely.
I know. Sorry, I just needed to know where Sarah was. So okay, let's wind it back then. So oh my god, S&S acquired Alpha Broder. Holy crap!
Yeah, you texted me on my way here, and I was in flight to Vegas, and I landed, and I was like, wait, what do you mean? What's the news? So I hadn't read any articles yet and been in any, on any media. So I didn't hear the news. It's crazy. It is mind-blowing.
So Jeff, why don't you just tell us what this is? What exactly does this entail? Give us the tea.
Well, I mean, first of all, I've had a chance to look at what PPAI has put out in the news link. I've had a chance to look at what ASI has put out. Really, really interesting story. But the crazy thing about this is just how huge this acquisition is. You're taking S&S, who did just over $2 billion, I think, within the last year or two. I don't know exactly what the last year's reported numbers are, but they were number 2 overall, I believe, at $2.1 billion. Alpha Broder was just under them at 2-point-something billion as well. And Sanmar has been number 1 in the industry for as long as I can remember, but they do over $3 billion. So now with S&S buying Alpha Broder, that puts them at a combined $4 billion in supplier sales. Okay, so the real mind-blowing thing about that, Meg, is that, the whole industry reported revenue that we always discuss as being a $26 billion industry. That's distributor sales. So supplier sales is, take away whatever the average markup in our industry is, let's say 30%. You're talking somewhere around $18 billion that suppliers do combined in our industry, if I'm understanding everything correctly.
Well,
so you're talking about now
hold
a
on one
company
second.
that's doing $4 billion out of a total $18 billion in the industry.
I don't even know if 18 billion is accurate. I'm sorry. And the only reason I'm saying this is I just did a quick Google search, skip this ad. And then in 2018, the suppliers, 2018, the top 50 suppliers totaled around 6.5 billion. That was 2018. So that was 6 years ago. So let's just double it for 15. That's insane. 16.
Well, you gotta remember there's a lot of really small suppliers in the industry too. I mean, you've got suppliers that are doing less than $1 million. So,
well, I mean, if you think about it, usually it's like the 80-20 rule. So if you just go by that, I mean.
But I mean, you can see how quickly those numbers drop off. Like when you're looking at ASI's top 40, you go from 3.4 billion down to single digits or double digit millions. So it's a huge drop off. Not to say that that doesn't all add up, obviously, but it's a very big drop off. I mean, when you're talking about an acquisition like that, so you combine now the $4 billion S&S Alpha Broder / Alpha Broder, however they're going to call themselves for the next couple of years. It will be interesting. None of that has come out yet, and it hasn't actually, like, the actual acquisition has not taken place. The transaction will take place at some point this year, from what I read. By the end of the year. But it's going to put the revenues at over $4 billion, which is going to unseat Sanmar as the number one supplier in the industry. But you take their combined $4 billion and Sanmar's $3.4 billion, you're at pretty damn close to $8 billion in an industry that does $18 billion for supplier revenue. So in two companies, you're doing almost half of the entire industry's revenue. It's pretty mind blowing.
I'm surprised that the government didn't step in, to be honest with you. If this
Well, that was one of the things that I actually read in the Newslink article, was that, or it may have been ASI's, I'm not sure which one I read, but that mentioned that. But they had already gone through the review process. So, I mean, it had been, because you think about it, apparel in our industry, it is 40% of the industry, and there's a lot of players in that game. There's a few that have been, those top three that have really been, the key suppliers, but I mean, I guess because it's not already monopolized by just one or two companies, it didn't throw any major red flags up.
Well, I mean, here's where, just from my experience, right? I was there for the last 10 years or whatever. Alpha's a different animal. They have decoration. They have hard goods and decoration, and they have blank goods.
Well, that's just it.
So up to 5 months ago, I put 5 months and 5 days at this point, the general consensus was, we have no interest in decorating. We have no interest in hard goods. So either something dramatically has changed in the last 5 months, or the plan to move forward is to not continue that part. I spoke with Eric Levin. Like, as soon as I heard, I was like, what is going on? Like, he's like, everyone was kind of freaking out, I'm not going to lie. And you think about it, like, these are people's livelihoods. These are their jobs. It's scary. I think with mergers and acquisitions, there's a lot of great things that can happen, but there's a lot of carnage. There's a lot of, I guess that's the best word to almost describe it, along the way. Reps, managers, people who were safe, maybe been there for X amount of years. Like, what does that look like? I mean, think about Performa. We have a team over at Alpha. I have a team over at S&S. I mean, same with regional. Like, that's going to be a lot. And I remember when Alpha and Broder, and even Alpha and Bodic, right? When they aligned, they had people in the office that were competing against each other. Like, just stuff that I hope that, if anything, they've learned how not to do something, right? By just the experience. I hope I'm not putting my foot in my mouth here, but like.
No, I think that's going to happen with any merger and acquisition. I mean, we've covered a lot of mergers and acquisitions over the years. I mean, we've been doing this now for 5 years,
Yeah.
and several have come up, and I've got friends in the industry that have unfortunately been casualties of mergers and
Yeah.
acquisitions. And I don't think that's going to change, regardless of whether or not people quote unquote learn how to sort of proceed without the casualties. I mean, when you've got two apparel giants in the industry, there will certainly be casualties, regardless of what picture they're trying to paint, or what picture they do end up painting. I guarantee you, within a very short window of time, you're going to see a lot of casualties from an acquisition like that.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of unknowns. I think the difference too between what was so mind blowing, it is number 2 and 3 that got merged. The other thing too is that this wasn't just a large supplier buying a small supplier from that's like a family owned company, right? Like this is a PE company. S&S is owned by CD&R, so Clayton DeBleur. I'm gonna totally butcher that.
Dublier, yeah.
Yeah, and Rice. And so, it's really different. I also think it makes us think about the industry as a whole, because you have a lot of PE companies that are coming in and have started to realize how fruitful that this industry is. Whereas before, we didn't really have a lot of PE companies that were involved inside of our industry.
Well, I think that's a really interesting avenue to sort of explore, because, and Meg, I don't know how much you know or care to share, sort of towards the end of your time with S&S before you moved on, because I know towards the end of last year, I would say, beginning of the fall, sort of sometime in the autumn, sales in the industry, I mean, not just our industry, basically the entire country, every industry, were starting to face some uncertainties and some turmoil, some possible recession talks and things like that. And, me personally, I know we had our house on the market in October and had to end up taking it off in December, just because the market just took a nosedive. So I'm wondering, with it being a private equity company, how much that, Meg, from what you were saying earlier with 5 months ago there was no interest in decoration, there was no interest in this or that, maybe that's a telltale sign they're trying to figure out how to squeeze more dollars out of what they're doing.
Well, I think those PE companies, right? They try to position themselves size-wise, because the goal, obviously, it's an investment, is to then sell it at some point in time, right? And so you do that, by revenue, and that's an easy way to kind of grow from a revenue perspective is an acquisition. So
absolutely, and I think that's really important. Well, you said something, Jeff. The goal is to then resell and to be bought, right? So I was trying to look up quickly and I couldn't find it, but AB was signed on with a PE about 12, 15 years ago. I don't remember, but they don't want to hold on to it that long. They've been trying to sell it for years. Second thing is, I think when people are looking to mergers and acquisitions, because it's a very quick way to double your revenue, your sales revenue, right? Like, how did you grow your business this year? Oh, I acquired a company, and you think about it, maybe S&S and Alpha both realized they'd hit their peaks, right? They've earned as many new customers as they can possibly do. They've sold as much as they possibly can to existing customers. They've recruited the best talent. They've hired the best managers, the best salespeople. So where you go now? Now you're both, hovering at the same, maybe one goes a little bit further, maybe back and forth. So the next big thing is to grow your business would be through mergers and acquisitions. And it was just going to be about a matter of time. I know this has been rumbling for a very long time. So I think overall, honestly, it's going to be okay. I have faith. I know there's some very, very smart people on both ends, on the S&S side and on the Alpha Broder side, that have been working on this for months, if not years. There's always rumors, but we're only privy to so much. With that being said, I really think that if it was me that was in charge, I would advise S&S to stay in their lane with the apparel, let the hard goods side break off as its own entity. Maybe they sell it off to the other hard goods suppliers, Pitt, Ariel, Tech Weld, there's so many of them in that lane, in that commodity hard goods space. Like, you don't need another one that's just selling the under $5 product. Just sell that off.
What was Prime? Hold on. What was Primeline doing before that acquisition, though?
All hard goods. They acquired Jetline.
No. But I mean, dollar wise.
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
We need to go back in the archives and find that number.
Yeah. I'm just curious because you're talking about selling off hard goods, which, yeah, I mean, staying in your lane, doing the apparel side of things. But I mean, how much of that business is hard goods?
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Well, the other play, Meg, right, could be, that what we're going to see next is that CD&R already have a plan to purchase somebody from a hard goods perspective, and maybe that division is going to grow.
Again, we only see the top of the iceberg,
right?
But as far as the decorating aspect of things that Alpha has really dove into head first over the last couple of years, I could really, I mean, this would hurt relationships. It would hurt some of it would definitely hurt the decorators in our industry. But I mean, I'm not wearing the hat, so I don't have to make that decision. But it would be smart for them to keep the decorating going, and then they would have, their decorator partners, the contract decorator networks, the PSST. So we have those set up all over the country. But that would be my thought. But I don't know.
Well, and that's what would give them the big advantage over Sanmar, is that then they would be doing decoration, which, I mean, let's face it, that's half the work for distributors to do. Then they're not cutting a PO with Sanmar and cutting a PO to a decorator. They're just cutting one. Yep. So yeah, I mean, that would be a big advantage on top of already now doing $4 billion versus their 3.4.
Exactly. And it's the biggest holdup about selling apparel. When people say, no, I don't sell apparel, it's too hard. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's way easier. I've been on both sides, way easier. I've been on both sides of it.
I don't know if you can trust anybody that says they don't sell apparel. It's 40% of the industry. What the hell are you doing?
I didn't sell apparel. I did not sell a single piece of apparel maybe prior to 6 months of me joining SNS Activewear. I'd only been hard goods, web distributor. Oh, you need a run chart? You need 2 colors?
I knew there was something shady about you, Meg.
It was too overwhelming at first. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is. So actually, we just had this conversation. Was it Chris from NC Custom O'Connor? Is that his name? Oh my God, I'm sorry. He called, yes, Chris O'Connor. We were at a Stagney trade show in New York back when I worked at Jetline, and he was at Bodic or Alpha, one of those, and he had his whole rack of T-shirts, and there were so many of them. And he's like, Meg, this was years ago. He's like, Meg, have you ever thought about coming to the apparel side? And I was like, oh, no.
Never.
And that was my face. That was literally my face. I was like, oh, no. So I'm not the anomaly. I know that there's other people out there that feel like that.
Oh, I know there are. I'm just saying.
Print now. Now it's like people are afraid to sell print. Print is, to me, in the same way I think of, or I used to think of apparel. That's all.
Apparel.
Yeah. There's just more moving parts. For people that don't have brains that work like that, like ADHD, like it's a lot.
Yeah.
So.
I think. I'm bringing it back. I'm so sorry. But I was thinking about, because there were a lot of reps that were out here, right? And everyone's kind of chitter chatting. Everyone's kind of wondering, to your point, like the carnage, what's it going to look like, everything else. And people instantly start to get fear, right? It starts coming over everybody. I think it's going to be months before any of that. There's a lot of things that have to happen, behind the scenes from a operations standpoint first. So I think we'll still be talking about this for
a while.
I mean, it could even be a year plus for sure. I mean, the transaction hasn't even happened, and then they're going to have to evaluate each rep, each territory, each all of that, and figure out who's going to stay and who's going to go.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's one thing I hope that everybody learns. And look, maybe people want to take that chance. I don't know, because there's certainly an allure about working with a top 5 or top 10 supplier in the industry.
Sure.
But me personally, I would never want to work for a company that's PE or some type of corporate equity or whatever, because that's, like you said, Sarah, the goal is to sell.
It's numbers, right? And the goal of most PE companies is 3 to 5 years. Typically.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't understand why anybody would work for a company that's
sometimes you're grandfathered in, but
no, I get that, but I'm saying, like, when how do you then acquire new talent when that's ultimately your goal? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're right. I will say, I was with SNS through 2 mergers and acquisitions where they acquired 2 other smaller apparel companies. Business as normal. It was pretty nice, and easy. We kept everybody that wanted to stay. We opened up more distribution. We kept their distribution centers open, let them work there, let them work remote like they were used to. So SNS was very accommodating at least from my perspective. I mean, maybe other people have different perspectives, but from my perspective, we didn't see a change. That what we were dealing with mostly as sales reps was, oh, we got this better pricing over here. You need to give us this better pricing and these rebates and this, Y, and Z. So glad I don't have to deal with that. But I mean, that's just minute, right? Like at the end of the day, that's super minute and can be worked out. But I will say SNS did a very good job in the past of handling the employees of the companies they acquired. So that's all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully it goes well. I mean, this is definitely an extremely large acquisition. So I'm sure it's a little bit different than acquiring a smaller company. But
for sure. I think it's exciting though. It's like everyone's eyes and ears are open right now is what I would say. Right. Mm-hmm. Like I think for anybody who didn't know it was coming, I think it kind of stopped everyone in their tracks. So
yeah, absolutely.
It'll be interesting to see what's going to happen.
Yep. Oh yeah. Well, and look, I know we wanted to cover this one quickly. We wanted to get on it.
Yeah.
I know this happened. By the time this comes out, it'll be a little over a week ago. But it's certainly exciting to see it happen. Very exciting to see what comes up, and we'll see where the chips lie after the dust is settled. But either way, this episode was brought to you by Alpha Broder. And they're America's leading supplier in wholesale apparel, promotional products, and imprintable goods, now more than ever. Alpha Broder's products build brands, champion causes, acknowledge achievements, and offer limitless solutions. And they carry more than 6,500 styles from over 60 brands of classic and trending products like wholesale t-shirts, fleece, drinkware, bags, journals, and more. Alpha Broder is empowering their customers to brand the world through market-leading service, products, and solutions. So be sure to check them out at alphabroder.com and tell them that Branding Banter sent you. I guess that's it for this one, guys. Anything else to add?
Nope, that's it.
Oh, that's it.
All right, cool. Well, until next time, we'll be seeing you guys.